One Piece, Luffy vs. All Five Elders explained. One Piece 1109 was certainly one of the most interesting ones in the entire series and one that shocked the fans to their very core. This chapter saw preparations being made for Vegapunk's ultimate message to the entire world and at the same time Luffy's fight against Kizaru and the Five Elders continuing. Clearly, this was one of the most anticipated chapters in the Egghead Island arc, and while it did not deliver the message that fans were eagerly waiting for, it did something much more interesting as Saturn managed to bring all Five Elders to Egghead, which makes things many times harder for Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates to deal with. Now, a fight against all Five Elders at the same time is on the cards, which means that fans are absolutely not ready for what is to come next. One Piece Chapter 1109 saw Luffy fighting at the best of his abilities against Saturn. This fight was absolutely mesmerizing, and once again, the comedic nature of Gear 5 was put on full display. Luffy was seen toying with both Kizaru and Saturn at the same time. Knowing that his attacks did not do any damage to Saturn specifically, Luffy decided to use an attack that would incapacitate both of them. Using a powerful technique called Goma Gomu no Dawn symbol, Luffy was able to slap both of them in between his palms and turn them into paper-thin discs. He then spun them on his index fingers and launched them at an incredibly high speed. Kizaru was sent crashing back to a marine ship where he was seen down, completely devastated by Luffy's attack. Meanwhile, Saturn was not taken down by this attack and he redirected himself back at Luffy, attacking him with full intensity. In the meanwhile, fans found out that Saturn could actually telepathically communicate with the likes of the remaining Five Elders. All five of them agreed that Vegapunk should not be allowed to broadcast his message all over the world and that if he succeeds in doing this, then the world, as they know it, would be at risk. As such, the severity of the situation was such that the Five Elders absolutely had to get their hands dirty and join the battlefield. Saturn, using some ability of his, was able to summon all Five Elders to the battlefield. Fans could see 4 giant summoning circles appearing on Egghead, with giant black lightning and flames surrounding these summoning circles. Out of these summoning circles, the Five Elders emerged, and now they have decided to join the battle on Egghead. The Five Elders are now up against Luffy. The goal here is to stop Vegapunk from showcasing his message to all over the world and at the same time stop all those who rebel against the government. As such, the goals of the Five Elders have not changed. The priority is to eliminate Vegapunk and stop the broadcast of the message entirely. The second goal that they would have would be to eliminate the cursed bloodline of the Buccaneers, that is, Bartholomew Kuma, and of course, finally, they would want to subdue Nika, the sun god, here, once and for all. These 3 goals are absolutely essential for the Five Elders, and that is why they absolutely cannot leave any stone unturned here. Fans will most definitely see them go up against Luffy, and it is also possible that they might actually split up. In this case, fans will most likely see their devil fruit powers first of all. The Five Elders hold tremendous powers up their sleeve. Saturn, and fans know, has the power of an Ushioni, and he demonstrated these powers immediately after emerging from his summoning circle. Given that all the other Five Elders are now emerging from their summoning circles, it would be a fair assumption to say that all of them will have transformed into their particular fruit forms as well. They will most likely showcase their full power in One Piece Chapter 1110, and the fight against Luffy will then begin. This is going to be one of the hardest battles that Luffy has ever fought and most likely surpass even his battle against Kaido. However, the nature of the battle is, of course, going to be different as this is not a battle to win, but a battle meant to survive, ensure the safety of the crew, and, eventually, escape. In the upcoming chapter of One Piece, fans will inevitably see Luffy fighting against all Five Elders. This is a battle that absolutely cannot be avoided at this point. As Luffy mentioned in the previous chapter, he is here to ensure that the Five Elders do not go past him and target his friends and, of course, Vegapunk as well. Luffy is here to stop them in their tracks, and that is why he has to do his utmost best here. Given that Luffy has recently entered Gear 5, he should not be out of energy. He was able to dominate the battle against Saturn and Kizaru, which means that Luffy can likely do the same against 2 Elders, likely. However, when faced with all 5, it is likely not possible for him to dominate the fight. As such, fans will likely see the 5 Elders dominate the fight in the upcoming chapters. It is entirely possible for Luffy to take heavy damage from them in the upcoming chapters, which will then make this arc more interesting than ever before, given that an escape way will most certainly not be clear. Of course, the question that is currently playing on every fan's mind is whether Luffy will be able to defeat all 5 Elders at once or not. This is a very complex question to answer. In terms of strength, Luffy certainly should not be able to defeat all the 5 elders. Fans have already seen Saturn being strong enough to resist Luffy's powers. On top of that, as has been clear in this arc already, Luffy absolutely cannot damage any of the 5 elders. No matter what he threw at Saturn, fans saw him regenerating immediately, which means that this is a fight that Luffy cannot win, at least not until he figures out a solution to their regeneration. To that end, fans will most certainly see Luffy as an underdog in this fight. All the 5 elders are way too powerful for him to take on all by himself. That said, Luffy can still control the battle by fighting smartly, taking the brunt of the damage by himself and holding all of them at bay. Furthermore, Luffy will most likely not be alone in this fight for long. Dory and Broggy are on the way to where Luffy is, and these 3 will most likely combine their strength to fight off against the 5 elders. It is entirely possible for Luffy to stay behind with Dory and Broggy and order the Straw Hat crew to escape from Egghead with Vegapunk. In that case, the intensity of this arc will grow even more, and it will be incredibly exciting to see what happens in this battle as it continues. Another interesting figure that could join this battle is the Iron Giant. These 4 figures could be up against the 5 elders, while the rest of the Straw Hat Pirates escape from Egghead with the goal of reuniting on Elbaf. As such, fans will have 2 groups, with the Straw Hat Pirates and Vegapunk leaving for Elbaf, and Luffy with the captains of the Giant Pirates, along with the Iron Giant, staying behind on Egghead.